Hi, I'm Aitana. For the first time in my life, I had something that was completely mine. A charming two-bedroom craftsman with a garden that needed love, but had good bones, as they say. After years of saving every penny while living in a tiny apartment, I'd finally done it. Purchased my dream home without telling a soul, not even my overbearing family. So when are you going to tell them? My best friend Delia asked, helping me paint the living room a soft sage green. Eventually, maybe at Sunday dinner next month, I said, carefully edging the ceiling. You know how my family is. Mom will say I should have bought in their neighborhood. Tyler will insist I overpaid. His wife Heather will point out every flaw. Delia rolled her eyes. Your mom still has a key to your apartment, doesn't she? Yeah, for emergencies. I made air quotes, nearly dropping my brush. But this place is different. This is mine. No spare key for anyone yet. Your mom's going to flip when she finds out you've been house hunting without her opinion on every single property. That's why I'm waiting until I'm settled. Present it as a done deal. I stepped back to admire our work. I just need some time to make it mine first. Smart move. Hey, what about that weird pipe in the basement? Delia asked, dipping her roller. The plumber's coming Friday. I've got a whole list of little fixes before the big reveal. 3 weeks later, I was pulling into my driveway after a grueling shift at the hospital when I noticed an unfamiliar car parked in front. Something about it seemed vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. Then I saw another car, my mother's blue sedan. My stomach dropped. How did she find out? How did she even get in? I quietly approached my own front door and heard voices inside. Pushing it open, I followed the sound to my kitchen where I found my mother gesturing dramatically at my new quartz countertops. And she paid a fortune for these, but they're worth every penny. The previous owners had this ghastly laminate. My mother froze when she saw me, standing in the doorway of my own kitchen. Behind her stood my brother's wife, Heather, and a woman I recognized as Heather's cousin, Vanessa, who was apparently house hunting. Aitana! My mother's voice went up an octave. You're home early. It's my regular schedule, I said flatly. What are you doing in my house? Well, Mom stammered. Heather cut in. Your mother was just showing us your amazing find. Vanessa is looking in this neighborhood and wanted to see a comparable property. I looked directly at my mother. How did you get in? How did you even know about this place? Well, sweetheart, Mom toyed with her necklace. I saw the paperwork in your apartment when I dropped off those meals last week. And you know I've always kept a copy of your spare key. There is no spare key, I said coldly. You made a copy without telling me? Vanessa cleared her throat awkwardly. Maybe we should go. That might be best, I agreed, not taking my eyes off my mother. After they left, my phone buzzed. It was Delia. You're not going to believe what just happened, I said. She made a copy of your key without permission? That's actually illegal, Delia said, sitting across from me at my kitchen island the next morning. Apparently, she's been doing it for years. I pushed my coffee mug in circles. But breaking into my house to show it off to Heather and her cousin? That's a whole new level. What did she say when they left? That I was overreacting, that family shouldn't have secrets. I mimicked my mother's self-righteous tone. She said she was proud of me and wanted to show off my accomplishment. Without your permission, Delia emphasized. In your home that you purchased privately. My phone rang. Tyler, my brother. Hey sis, so, about yesterday. Did you know? I interrupted. Know what? That you bought a house? No, I found out when Heather came home talking about it. Not that. Did you know Mom makes copies of my keys? A pause. Well, yeah. She has copies of everyone's keys. I nearly dropped my phone. Everyone's? Even yours? She's our mother, Aitana. It's just her way of looking out for us. Looking out? Tyler, she broke into my house. She brought strangers into my home without my permission. Technically, Heather isn't a stranger. Not the point, I snapped. This is a violation and you know it. After hanging up, I called my cousin Marcos, who works in real estate. Changing the locks is step 1, he advised. But if you want to pursue this legally, you absolutely can. Making unauthorized copies of keys is illegal in most states. What about entering someone's home without permission? That's trespassing, plain and simple, Marcos confirmed, even if she's your mother. Later that day, I met with my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, and retired teacher who lived across the street. Oh, yes, dear, she said, pouring tea. I saw them arrive yesterday. 3 women. The older one used a key. Did you notice anything else? How long they were here? About an hour before you arrived. They were taking photos, too. The older woman was showing off the garden like it was her own handiwork. My blood boiled. Taking photos inside my house. Mrs. Patterson nodded. I thought it was strange, but assumed they were family. I thanked her and left, already forming a plan. That evening, I called Delia. I need your help, I said. I'm not letting this go. Sunday dinner at my parents' house had been a monthly tradition since I was old enough to drive. This time, I arrived with Delia beside me for moral support and a folder of evidence under my arm. Aitana, Mom greeted me with her usual enthusiasm. And Delia, what a lovely surprise. We need to talk, I said, bypassing her outstretched arms. In the living room, my father looked up from his newspaper. Tyler and Heather were already seated on the couch, looking uncomfortable. What's this about? Dad asked, folding his paper. Mom broke into my new house and gave an unauthorized tour to Heather and her cousin, I stated flatly. Mom waved dismissively. I didn't break in. I used a key. A key you made without my permission, I clarified, pulling out papers from my folder. Which is illegal, by the way. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Mom started. I've spoken to the police, I interrupted. Making unauthorized copies of keys is a crime. Entering someone's home without permission is trespassing. Tyler stood up. Come on, Aitana, this is Mom we're talking about. The same Mom who's apparently been making copies of all our keys for years? I turned to him. You don't find that disturbing? It's called being prepared for emergencies, Mom insisted, her voice rising. Was showing off my house to Vanessa an emergency? I demanded. Were the photos you took necessary for some family crisis? Heather's head snapped up. How did you know about the photos? My neighbor saw you. All of you. Mom's face flushed. I was proud of you. I wanted to show Heather and Vanessa what you'd accomplished. Without asking me, without my knowledge or consent. I placed a formal letter on the coffee table. This is a cease and desist from my lawyer. I've changed all my locks. If you ever enter my property without explicit permission again, I will press charges. You can't be serious, Mom gasped. I've never been more serious. You violated my privacy, my trust, and the law. Aitana, Dad began. Surely we can work this out as a family. I've tried that approach for years, I cut in. Every boundary I set gets ignored. Mom's eyes welled with tears. I'm sorry if I overstepped. I just wanted to be involved in your life. Being involved means being invited, I said firmly. Not making yourself a key to someone else's home. Please, Mom reached for my hand. I made a mistake. We can fix this. I pulled away. There's nothing to fix, just legal boundaries to respect. As I turned to leave, Tyler blocked my path. You're really going to threaten legal action against our mother? Over this? Step aside, Tyler, Delia said firmly. This doesn't concern you, he snapped. Actually, as a witness to the aftermath of your mother's trespassing, it does, Delia replied coolly. Mom lunged forward suddenly, trying to grab the folder from my hands. Give me those ridiculous papers. In the scuffle, she shoved me hard against the wall, knocking a framed photo to the floor where it shattered. The room went silent. And that, I said quietly, is assault. 3 weeks later, I sat in my living room with Delia and Marcos, watching as a security company finished installing my new alarm system. The restraining order was approved, I told them, holding the official document. She can't come within 100 feet of me or my property. How's your dad taking it? Marcos asked. He's upset, but he understands. After Mom's outburst in front of everyone, he couldn't deny there was a problem anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Mom's mandatory therapy starts tomorrow. Dad says the family counselor thinks she has serious boundary issues. Can we talk? I showed it to Delia. Are you going to respond? She asked. Not yet. He's stood by her behavior for years. I need time. The doorbell rang. Through my new security camera, I saw Heather standing on my porch, alone. Should I let her in? I asked my friends. Your house, your rules, Delia reminded me. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Aitana, please, Heather began. Mom is devastated. The restraining order, it's tearing the family apart. Her actions tore the family apart, I corrected. The restraining order is just the consequence. She's apologized a dozen times. Apologies don't erase violations, I said, or years of ignored boundaries. What will it take? Heather demanded. What does she need to do to fix this? Nothing. There's nothing to fix. She needs to respect the legal boundaries now in place. So that's it? You're just cutting her off forever? I considered this. I don't know what the future holds, but right now, I need space and security in my own home. After Heather left, Marcos raised his glass. To boundaries, he toasted. And consequences, Delia added. My phone rang again. My father this time. Hey, Dad, I answered. Your mother's been diagnosed with something called boundary disturbance disorder, he said without preamble. The therapist says it explains a lot of her behavior over the years. I'm glad she's getting help, I said sincerely. Does this change anything with the restraining order? No, Dad. A diagnosis explains behavior but doesn't excuse it. After we hung up, Delia looked at me. Are you okay? Better than I've been in years, I admitted. For the first time, I feel like my space is actually mine. Later that evening, as we sat in my garden watching the sunset, Marcos asked, Do you think you'll ever reconcile with your mom? I considered the question carefully. I don't know. Maybe someday, if she truly changes. But reconciliation doesn't mean forgetting or allowing the same patterns to continue. It would have to be a completely different relationship. Based on respect, Delia nodded. Exactly. I looked around at my home. Truly mine now, safe and private. The funny thing is, I would have happily shown her the house if she'd just asked. All she had to do was respect that it was mine to share, not hers to take. As the stars appeared overhead, I wondered about all the other people dealing with similar boundary violations. How many stayed silent to keep the peace? How many never found the courage to say enough is enough? What does it say about our culture? I mused to my friends. That we're expected to tolerate invasion of privacy just because it comes from family? What would you do if someone you loved crossed your boundaries this way? Would you have the courage to stand your ground, even if it meant facing them in court?